Crypto, meta, verse.
Generally, a bottom, and I've seen this movie so many times before, is you need a big institution to go bankrupt. That always helps. I mean, you have to sacrifice an institution to get this to work, because then you get a dramatic flushing of equity positions as panic sets in. Margin calls are called in, shorts, are bought. They basically bought themselves in already, and then you get this big leg down. Usually, it's 5 to 10%, and that is the bottoming process we need now. This time, I was thinking it might be in the crypto space, but that's already been decimated, and so it may be something else, a financial services company, or there was some rumors about Coinbase that turned out not to be true. But you need somebody's offside somewhere on a leveraged hedge position. You just don't know who it is yet, and they're big. And we're going to wake up in the next 10 days, 20 days, and you're going to find out they're a zero. That's a good thing. And I'm waiting for that to happen, because we're getting close to a bottom. It's hard to say. It usually happens in financial services where somebody was trying some strategy, a leverage strategy. It's always leverage that does this, or a hedge fund. Hedge funds, a good hedge fund that loses 10 or 20 billion, that's also good for flushing. And that's happened many times before. These are guys that have never seen this kind of a market. So they set up a position that went awry, couldn't unwind their leverage, and they just get wiped out. And again, I feel sorry for them, but I think it's very healthy when that happens. And the trouble with this correction is it's a slow grind down 1 to 3% a day. And you don't really bottom till you get that flush.
In a recent interview, Canadian business mogul Kevin O'Leary says that he remains bullish on crypto. O'Leary claims that Bitcoin predictions have never been accurate, adding that no one was capable of accurately forecasting its volatility. The assumption that Bitcoin was going to be a hedge against inflation was just flat out wrong. The Shark Tank star predicts that Bitcoin will remain volatile. He compared it to Amazon's performance over the last 15 years. O'Leary has reiterated that the narrative about Bitcoin's institutional adoption is not true, since the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is yet to approve a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund. The ownership of Bitcoin by institution remains minuscule because of their compliance departments. Bitcoin is down 37.65% on a year-to-date basis, despite the fact that year-over-year inflation hit the highest level since 1981 in April. It is also down 57.88% from its record high.
First, I would say, including anybody that wants to make forecasts about when the start of a recession happens, they simply don't know. And nobody knows right now, because it's really hard to read the tea leaves in this market. And so the question that everybody, including me, has every day when I see a correction like this, when I see Walmart down 20%, for example, which is a bellwether stock, if I'm an opportunist, I might put on a position. But what I'm doing right now is I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the big event, as I call it. And you get these events, and we talked about it. That day will be an interesting day to put 130 or positions on. It'll be a day of panic. We'll be down somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 points. And yeah, it's horrible to talk about it, but that actually is very healthy, very, very healthy. I think this is actually a maturation process for the crypto market. There's two basic baskets of crypto projects. One, highly speculative tokens, and you could say UST and Luna certainly fit that because they've been repriced dramatically. Highly unlikely in the context of stable coins will they ever return to their old prices, because people have figured out a stable coin should be stable. And that means it has to be backed by something of asset value. You can note that USDC did not correct that way. In fact, during the period of this mass correction of other algorithmic or other quantitative or speculative stable coins that really, really got crushed, Circle, the company that issues USDC, was able to raise $200 million from Fidelity and $200 million from BlackRock. That's unprecedented in equity for the company. So that's signaling that that type of stable coin is favored by institutional investors versus the others, which looked like they were retail products. So you've got all this speculative stuff. The NFTs have corrected. The Las Vegas side of crypto has had a nightmarish correction. And I think that's very good in the sense that it helps separate the wheat from the chaff, or the cream from the milk, if you wish, whatever analogy you want, because the traditional projects have remained relatively stable. Sure, they've had a correction, but it's not uncommon each year for Bitcoin to give up 50% of its value, and that's certainly been the case here. Ethereum, same thing. And so that's the volatility that will be inherent in crypto until there's policy.
Talking about Bitcoin, its price plunged to an intraday low of $28,690. It is now on track to record its 8th consecutive week in the red, mirroring the performance of the Dow index. O'Leary predicted that Bitcoin would become the world's reserve currency back in April in a now-deleted tweet. The Canadian investors who shamed the largest cryptocurrency as garbage back in 2019 warmed up to cryptocurrencies in 2020. Last year, O'Leary started putting funds into various cryptocurrency projects, expanding his focus beyond Bitcoin. In March, Mr. Wonderful revealed that cryptocurrencies and blockchain-related stocks comprised a fifth of his portfolio.
I remain bullish on crypto from the perspective of productivity. And so I think if you're buying projects, and I've always said this, Bitcoin is not a coin, it's software. Ethereum software, Solana software, Helium software, Pollen is software. All of these different projects around different sectors of the economy. Solana may be better ultimately for transactional speed because Ethereum is pretty slow. So we don't know which one of these projects is going to win. But the whole premise is that you want these for financial services. And I still believe that in 10 years, crypto will be the 12th sector of the economy, but all the existing tokens will not exist. There'll be many that just go to zero because they were highly speculative, they were fun, they had no real intrinsic financial services value. But if you were to ask me about USDC and say, look, where's the value of that? Well, first of all, you can stake it or loan it at a 4% rolling annualized yield every 30 days, and that's valuable in inflationary times. Secondly, it is a highly effective payment system because I am now accepting payment for goods and services in USDC, and very often not converting it back to fiat because I'm simply leaving it in my Circle account and rolling it into these 30-day contracts. In fact, I had a really interesting dialogue with one of my banks last week, and I plan on reading the script at the next crypto conference because it's quite interesting. It really says a lot about the banking system right now. I cannot buy more than a 3% weighting in any mandate of USDC because my regulator, or my compliance department, I should say, treats it as a highly volatile equity, as evidenced by what happened to Luna, what happened to UST. So they're looking at that, not differentiating the difference between those two tokens. So they're saying, look, you can put on a 3% weighting. So in the case of that particular mandate, that was $7 million. So we moved the $7 million out of the account into a USDC account. And within hours, I got a phone call from the bank saying, what happened to that $7 million? Why didn't we get a chance to bid on it? I said, okay, bid on it. Right now, I'm staking it out at 4% for 30 days. Right. They came back, gave me double B corporate credits for 3 years at 3%. And I said, why would I ever do that? You're not competitive. You've got to meet me at 30 days for 4%. And then they sent me all the articles about the correction of Luna. And I said, Luna is not USDC. These banks are now finding themselves getting squeezed because people are figuring out they're not advancing enough into understanding how crypto works. And their clients, I'm just one client, are moving millions of dollars out of their account elsewhere. And I said to him, look, you can bid for this money anytime you want, but you have nothing of value to me if I have to pay